Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. First of all, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving if you're here in America. And, for everyone who's not, that's okay. You guys have your own holidays. But on Thanksgiving, it's just kind of a day of feasting. It's a day of food, everything else. And a lot of people worry about, are they going to mess up their diet on this? Let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing. Work on skilling up my crafting a little bit and let's talk about this. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. If you're at the point, unless your career is directly impacted by the exact amount of body fat you have, like if you're a professional bodybuilder or you are a professional fitness model and you have a six-figure income from what you do, if you're standing around worried about one day of eating in a very important cultural and family holiday, you probably have an eating disorder. And you should probably go talk to a therapist about it. And that's the one thing that frustrates me is when we saw the guys like Jerry Ward talking about taking Tupperware to family gatherings, because you only have a couple of these a year. Taking Tupperware to family gatherings and not eating the food there is actually, it's a sign of a mental illness at that point. Now, I can understand if you're a professional bodybuilder, but even then, people who want to mitigate a potential fat gain, it's not that difficult. There's a lot you can do that still allows you to indulge. In fact, I mean, if you look at all the stuff with guys like Martin Berkham out there with his strategies for intermittent fasting, that guy never goes over 10% body fat. I mean, that guy's never over 10% body fat, yet he still eats cheesecake and drinks alcohol and everything else all the time. And a lot of that is by just saving your calories, creating a deficit earlier in the day, and then having a feed window in the afternoon. And that's actually, intermittent fasting type strategies are a very, very viable strategy for holidays like this, because you're probably not going to be eating these foods until lunch or evening or something like that. So here's what I would suggest to you. The day before, do one of your biggest workouts, like a squat workout, a deadlift workout, right? Train big muscles like your back and your legs that have large amounts of glycogen stores. Go ahead and train those the afternoon before or the morning of, right? I mean, if you got a squat rack at home, that's awesome, because a lot of people's gyms aren't open on Thanksgiving, but the majority of you, if you're going to celebrate Thanksgiving, you probably have the day off. If you've got a gym open to you, do some of that, or even do some body weight type squats, right? Create a need for glycogen in your muscles and training the bigger muscles. So even you guys who are on some sort of split routine, which I'm not always a big fan of, a back or a leg day would be ideal at this point. In other words, you need to create the need for energy. The need for energy. Go ahead and create that, and then get up and fast in the morning. Fast through the morning. Back if you need to wait till noon, like let's say you're going to have your Thanksgiving at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Go ahead and go into it fasted. Have nothing but water, black coffee, things like that. Go into it fasted. And if you train and you lift, because anyone who's that worried, right, anyone who is that worried about their body fat, you damn well better be a hard training person. You better be carrying significant muscle mass, because if you're worried about being cut and you're 150 pounds, you're pretty damn stupid as far as your priorities, because that's just the reality of it. You don't have any muscle. You shouldn't be worried about cuts. You need to build a base. You need to be bulking. So I'm talking about people who actually train, right? People who are actually training. Because if you're 150 pounds, ignore all this. Go pig out. Put on 10 pounds. You'll be fine. But seriously, the joking aside on that, there are people who worry about this stuff who shouldn't. But the point is, go into it fasted. You can wait to eat till 2 o'clock. Have coffee and water. And here's the thing. If you're someone who trains, and let's say you either trained heavy and hard the day before, or you got up and trained the morning of, you're probably going to have up to a 3,000 calorie energy turnover for that day. And that's assuming you're a lot smaller than me. I burn way more than 3,000 calories a day. I've dropped 46 pounds eating more than 3,000 calories on average, right? That's to give you an idea. And I don't even do cardio. So if you lift, this should be no problem for you. So you walk into Thanksgiving with up to 3,000 calories available in terms of your energy intake, to where you're not going to gain a net gain of body fat for the day, because you trained the evening before, you trained the morning of, you created a need for the glucose and everything in these bigger muscles. You walk in fasted. Now, it's actually pretty easy sometimes at an enormous feast like this to eat 3,000, 3,500, 4,000 calories. You know, because if you're eating all that pecan pie and everything else, which is my favorite, I love pecan pie. I mean, I could eat 3,000 calories of pecan pie. So what do we do with this? Well, if you walk into there with, say, an opening of your 3,000 calories under your maintenance for the day, and you walk into a Thanksgiving feast, I mean, do most of you think you're going to be able to eat enough to gain fat? Probably not, but let's assume you can. All right, let's assume you can. All right, start with the veggie tray and the turkey first, right? Fill yourself up on protein and lean vegetables. That is, again, a viable strategy for people with insane appetites. People like me, that's all my fasted days these days, because I fast on my off days from lifting. I train 3 days a week right now. And so for me, I eat breakfast early on my training days, but the other days I'm fasted. So what I usually find for someone like me who needs to maintain no more than 3,500 calories a day, I don't want to ever go over that, who has an insane appetite, I can easily eat 5,000 calories. I could go to a Thanksgiving and knock out 5,000 calories. It'd be no problem at all. So what would you do at that point? Well, if you're one of those people with that really voracious appetite, you walk in and you start with the lean protein and the vegetables, because that stuff has the highest satiety. You're going to ensure you get your protein needs for the day, because let's say you sit down and you eat a pound of turkey and some vegetables. You know that you got a solid amount of protein in to start, but you're at least going to hopefully gain some muscle out of all of this. Then go to all the other stuff. Go to all the other stuff. Go to all the things that you enjoy and go ahead and pig out, because to be honest, again, if you're someone who trains, your energy turnover is probably at least 3,000 calories a day. And we know, based on all the data, if you even eat junk food and you don't go over your maintenance, you don't gain fat. But here's what's going to happen. So you can do all that. You'll make sure you get your protein needs for the day. You can walk in fasted. You eat this enormous amount of food. You're probably not going to gain any body fat. Hell, let's say you go over maintenance, but you walked in and you fasted first. You created a deficit, and you go over maintenance. You actually don't usually, it's very difficult to gain significant body fat off of 1 day of eating. Which is going to happen at that point, you're going to supercompensate your glycogen stores if you overeat. What does that mean? That means your glycogen stores are going to be full, your leverages are going to be better. When you walk into the gym the next day, instead of, oh man, I had this gift, I need to do a bunch of cardio to burn this off, which is basically exercise bulimia, no. You now have training fuel. I bet you could walk in and hit a PR on your squat or your deadlift, right? What I recommend the day after a big heavy meal like that, deadlift day. Get in and do some deadlifts. I think what you're going to find is that your deadlifts are going to go up. Use it to fuel some PRs. Use it to fuel some PRs in the gym. You have training fuel. And I don't mean training fuel so you can do a bunch of cardio. Get in and do some serious lifting. You're going to hit some amazing numbers. You're probably going to gain some muscle out of it. You're going to gain some muscle out of it, particularly if you've been restricting calories and stuff up until that. You're going to get a nice boost in your total energy turnover. You're going to get a nice boost in your metabolic rate if you gain a little bit of muscle from it. It's going to help you in the long run. All right, that day of overfeeding, and particularly if you controlled it the way I described, you're going to be just fine. And here's what people need to think about. If this is not your career, and you can actually use strategies like this to actually use it to your benefit, why would you restrict yourself in that regard of not enjoying time and food and fun with loved ones and family? And yes, I understand we have an obesity problem in America. Yes, I understand that. But you have the ability to still indulge in the days like this and avoid gaining fat, avoid the obesity, still have those connections with other people, because that's one of the things with humans. Actually eating together and sharing food is, when you look at all the research and stuff out there, is kind of key to human social bonding. Right, that is an important part to human interaction as far as family ties, relationships. In fact, even developing romantic relationships. Even sharing food off the same plate with someone it can actually make people fall in love faster. So it's like, when you look at all this in terms of the way that we bond with other people, like we're wired to share food. And so big holidays like this where we share food and indulge in all this food that we really enjoy, and you get all that dopamine and serotonin and everything going from all of these delicious foods and the time with loved ones, it's actually good for you emotionally. It's good for you psychologically. It's good for you for your family bonding and your ties. And even if you don't have family and you go do Thanksgiving with friends, it still creates the same sort of effect in you. And this is actually good for your health. So going in and isolating yourself and being isolated during situations like that where you have the potential to bond with other people you care about, that's not necessarily healthy. That's not ideal. And so restricting yourself and being an outcast isn't good. You can actually fit all those foods in on occasion on days like that, just using the strategies that I described, and you're going to be just fine. You're going to be just fine. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.